Maybe the most compelling thing that we can do is be silent. I can accept that. But there's another compelling thing that we could do that I'm not sure if it really gets highlighted in the same way or like respected as much. And that's actually cry out. We always really love the metaphor of just like the silent warrior, you know. He doesn't say anything. Sometimes it's hard to say anything. And, you know, accepts the rain, accepts the pain, accepts the what needs to happen, you know, accepts that he's so strong. Like this is always like, let's accept it. I understand why. Because for a long time, this is the archetype that goes against, you know, the outlandish, outspoken, expressive fool, right? Like, oh yeah, he's just a fool. He's speaking so much, right? I've not always accepted myself when I was expressing myself that way, right? But what do we have to do with how or what or why we're crying out and we're expressing ourselves and we're feeling and we're emoting and, you know, and we're creating? There's a lot of things that happen when we accept the reality that we don't have to be any idea or any character we don't choose to be, right? Why would I choose to be something that would demonize who I actually am? So I'm an expressive person. So I love those moments of reflection and silence, right? I don't think that they're as often appreciated by many people, including myself at times. But do I need to re-identify as someone that's just like so reserved or, you know, something like this? No. And you might be a painter. You might love baking. Go bake, you know, go paint. But you don't have to feel like you're a baker. You don't have to feel like you're a painter. We're made in a certain way, like where, and, you know, think about what making is. Making isn't creating. Making is forming from something created. And you have the makers of heaven and earth, and then you have the creators of the souls, you know, which you can't create a soul. You could birth a soul. You could hold a soul. You could speak to a soul, but you can't create or make a soul. So we actually, when we're doing things and we're in things, we're creating things and making things, we got to pull on something beyond the ordinary, or like Bobby Hemmett says, the mundane, or, you know, the mundane is a great word for it because it deals with what just seems to be. It's always, you know, advertised for men to not express themselves and to be more stoic only. But I think one of the greatest forms of stoicism is to truly, authentically express one's feelings in a responsible way. And I don't feel like really enough people are celebrated enough to do that. And I think that I would celebrate myself now to do that. So one of the biggest ideas I like about this, you know, in this same topic is you have the square at 360 degrees and you have the circle at 360 degrees. What's the difference, right? The square is angular, you know, and the square is made to represent the male archetypes. Circle is formless, it's continuity, and it's shown to represent the divine feminine. The circle is eternal. There's not as many definitive points. Because there's no definitive points, there is a holistic vintage of definitive. And the square is angular, so there's a more expressed form of the definitive. And think about a man, and like what think about, you know, or the masculine. The masculine is celebrated most when it's clear, direct, you know, very obvious what's going on. Enigmatic only in appearance and form, but never really appreciated when enigmatic nature is transcendent into their actual state of being. Like when I'm a guy and I'm even among, you know, spiritual people and I'm, you know, myself, and then it's always seen as if you're expressive, you're not enigmatic. You know, you're no longer a mystery. And if you're silent, which is, it has some bearing to it in perception, but if you're silent, well, now you're, you know, you're stoic and you're on the Osirian myth. You're so just cool. You know, you're like a Sar. You're just like, okay. Well, I like both sides of the coin. I think, you know, I want to encourage anyone that does too, that you don't have to be either or both, or, you know, whatever. You could be a man and still be formless, and still dedicate yourself to the reality that you are a woman's son. You are a father's son, but you are a woman's son. And even the divine archetypes in the past, they're the sons of a mother. Even the fathers, no matter whose father there is, he has a mom. You know, that's the archetype. that gets painted like it's just square for square. But I'm talking about perception, and you see something very clear and cut and direct. It's always celebrated, and I think it should be when it's real, it's authentic. But what about when the square gets a little form, when it gets a little curvature? This is interesting, right? Like, where do we cross the line in our acceptance of a nature of another? I love the story of Set, because in the story of Set, it says that the gods would get uncomfortable with his nature. When he would show up, this guy is doing the most, right? To them, they're like, his energy is so intense, and I always can relate to this as a creative, because I am naturally being myself, right? If myself is perceived as, this, it's not my responsibility, right? Just like if I was quiet and just so stoic in a certain moment, everyone meets a different version of you. Everyone meets a different version of me. And Stevie, this reminds me of the album of Stevie Wonder, In Square Circle. In Square Circle. We're in a matrices of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And we're in a square reflection of a circular paradigm. So our choices don't have really anything to do with what we think is going to happen. We predict, we play chess, but the one who wins the game does not beat the one who masters the game. The one who masters the game can't just be playing it all the time. He has to play other things. He has to look at other things to master that. And he has to live a life outside of a game to master the game. We're not only in a game, then we're on our phones in a game sometimes too, so we can get lost at times. I don't think that square is bad. I want to say that, hello. Square is not bad, square is good. Circle is beautiful, circle is good. But they don't exist in conflict. I feel like this is something that I'm really now realizing. I feel like I sound like the character from one of the characters I watch on Instagram, but the student. No, but like, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to accept the circle, the formless, the void part of ourselves, and allow it to define, and work with creating that contrast. What do? I do what I feel is the best decision in each moment, and I also do what feels most organic to me. What about you, Deborah? But I'm like I also do things that would challenge me or excite me to become something else. I do things that would teach me, and I also work as I work in creative things, creative work, and also building some AI things. Also building some and learning and building some prompting of AI things. So, what's interesting about AI is that I feel like AI is one of the best examples of this, but in like a really, 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 really like awkward way, where like the AI is a square of a square. So we almost see this like reflection of the direct, like overly clear male thinking when we interact with AI. Thank you. We have like an understanding of like what square is and what circles are, but we don't need to define them as either or. I think that another one that gets me, like, and similar to the square, thank you, circle and square archetype, is we don't need to demonize what is perceived as square as being a square, or what seems a circle as being a circle. I think that we have opportunity to, like, they can be both. Like, someone can see a square, someone else can see a circle, and just because someone designed it as a square doesn't mean it's not a circle. But I'm actually gonna get off here.